National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation may look like the warmest, goofiest holiday comedy ever made, a snow-covered world filled with blinding Christmas lights, exploding turkeys, deranged squirrels, and one man desperately trying to create the perfect family Christmas. But behind the laughter and chaos was a production just as wild as Clark Griswold's holiday meltdown. Injuries, electrical disasters, last-minute rewrites, arguments, failed props, and completely improvised scenes shaped the movie into the chaotic Christmas masterpiece millions watch every year. These are the 20 secrets they never told you about how this Christmas legend was really made. Number 1. John Hughes wrote the script during a personal meltdown, and it shows. Christmas Vacation grew from John Hughes's short story Christmas '59, but when Hughes expanded it into a full film, he was drowning under studio pressure. He was already writing and producing several movies at once, exhausted and frustrated with Hollywood expectations. That stress bled straight into Clark Griswold's character. Instead of a typical cheerful Christmas hero, Hughes created a man crushed under the weight of perfectionism. Clark desperately wants a perfect holiday, and everything work, family, neighbors, random acts of nature conspires against him. Chevy Chase later said Clark's emotional unraveling felt too real, and that's because Hughes himself was unraveling while writing it. The authenticity of that anxiety made the comedy sharper and gave the film an emotional core that the studio didn't understand at first. Number 2. Chevy Chase injured himself repeatedly. Because he refused to use padding. Chevy Chase had already built a career on dangerous physical comedy, but Christmas Vacation pushed him harder than ever. Chase insisted on doing nearly all of his own pratfalls, slamming into ladders, falling through attics, slipping on roofs, tumbling across frozen lawns. During the attic sequence, he bruised his ribs and arms crashing into real wooden boards. In the rooftop light-hanging scene, he missed his footing and smashed his side on a metal gutter so hard that production had to pause while medics checked him. Chase refused foam pads and wanted real pain for real comedy, as he put it. Crew members begged him to stop risking injury, but Chase wouldn't budge. His commitment gave Clark's holiday meltdown a frantic, unhinged authenticity, but it took a physical toll no one truly expected. Number 3. Clark's 25,000 Christmas lights caused real electrical failures on the backlot. When Clark Griswold flips the switch on his giant Christmas light display, it's the defining visual of the film. But behind the scenes, that moment nearly overwhelmed the entire Warner Brothers backlot. The light display used thousands of real bulbs, far fewer than 25,000, but still enough to cause frequent power outages. During tests, fuses blew repeatedly, and entire sections of the set went dark. At one point, a real block of the backlot lost power because the lights drew too much electricity. Sparks literally flew from one cable during a rehearsal. The crew finally had to install separate generators solely for Clark's Christmas lights. The irony? The fictional chaos of the Griswold family Christmas was nothing compared to the real power failures that almost shut down the production. Number 4. Chevy Chase and director Jeremiah Chechik fought constantly, but it made the movie better. Jeremiah Chechik approached Christmas Vacation as a warm, character-driven holiday story, while Chevy Chase wanted sharper slapstick and snappier humor. Their visions clashed almost daily. Chase thought Chechik was too serious. Chechik thought Chase pushed every joke too far. They argued openly on set, sometimes halting filming entirely. But their push and pull created the film's unique tone, a chaotic blend of emotional sincerity and absurd comedic disaster. The tension shaped Clark Griswold, a man who genuinely loves his family but is always on the verge of losing his mind. By the end of filming, both men admitted the conflict had pushed them to create something far better than either originally imagined. Their battles mirrored the Griswold Christmas itself, loud, messy, stressful, but ultimately full of heart. Number 5. Cousin Eddie's funniest lines were completely improvised. Cousin Eddie is one of the most iconic comedy characters of the 1,980 seconds, and many of his best moments weren't in the script at all. Randy Quaid invented Eddie's speech patterns, posture, facial expressions, and slow, thoughtful delivery. The infamous line, "Shitter was full," was 100% improvised, delivered so confidently and casually that the crew burst into laughter behind the camera. Quaid embraced Eddie's bizarre sincerity, approaching every moment as if Eddie believed he was helping, even when he was causing chaos. His improvisations gave the film its most quotable lines, and Chevy Chase later admitted that Eddie's unpredictable energy forced him to stay sharp in every scene. Eddie became the perfect comedic wildcard, always one word away from disaster. Number 6. Cousin Eddie's see-through dicky sweater was a complete accident. Eddie's ridiculous outfit, a thin white sweater with a jet black dicky clearly visible underneath, was never supposed to be seen. The costume department accidentally paired the two pieces, assuming the sweater was thick enough to hide the dicky. Under studio lights, the dicky became hilariously obvious. When Randy Quaid saw it, he immediately insisted that Eddie would absolutely wear something that ridiculous with pride. The director agreed and kept the mistake. The see-through dicky became one of the most beloved visual gags in the movie, so iconic that fans still wear replicas every Christmas. Sometimes the best comedy comes from pure wardrobe accidents, especially when Cousin Eddie is involved. Number 7. The famous squirrel scene was a last-minute replacement after the real squirrel died. One day before filming the big squirrel loose in the house scene, the trained squirrel hired for the movie unexpectedly died. The production had no backup. Instead of rewriting the script, the crew built a puppet squirrel and created the entire sequence using frantic improvisation, quick camera cuts, and sheer comedic chaos. The puppet malfunctioned constantly. Actors screamed, improvised reactions, and ran around the set with genuine confusion. Chevy Chase, frustrated and energized, delivered one of the most manic performances of the film. Despite the technical disaster, the scene became legendary. The frantic energy you see on screen was real panic disguised as comedy, proving once again that Christmas Vacation thrived on chaos. Number 8. A candle caught Beverly D'Angelo's hair on fire during rehearsal. During a rehearsal for the dinner scene, Beverly D'Angelo leaned slightly too close to a decorative candle. Crew members watched in horror as a small flame ignited a tuft of her hair. Chevy Chase reacted instantly, slapping the flame out with his hand before it spread. D'Angelo stayed calm, joked about smelling holiday barbecue, and continued filming. The incident terrified the crew, but became a cast legend. The chaos felt so on-brand for the Griswold family that the director later joked they should have kept the footage in the movie. Thankfully, D'Angelo was unharmed, but it wouldn't be the only dangerous moment involving fire. Number 9. The electrocuted cat scene used real smoke that nearly choked the cast. The infamous moment when Aunt Bethany's cat gets electrocuted under the Christmas tree required a smoking present box rigged with pyrotechnic pellets. The pellets produced far more smoke than expected. During filming, the living room filled with thick, choking clouds that made it nearly impossible for actors to breathe or see. Beverly D'Angelo and Chevy Chase had to step outside between takes to clear their lungs. Even the crew struggled to stay inside the set long enough to operate cameras. Despite the discomfort, the scene became an unforgettable dark comedy highlight. But the worst physical injury was still waiting for Chevy Chase, and it involved the Griswold Christmas tree. Number 10. Chevy Chase really injured his hand in the Christmas tree scene. During the scene where Clark cuts the roots off the massive tree in the living room, Chase swung the axe too forcefully and slammed his hand onto a hidden wooden prop. His knuckles split open, and real blood began dripping onto the fake snow. Chase stayed in character, finishing the take with gritted teeth and frantic energy, creating one of the most memorable Clark Griswold meltdowns in the film. After the take, the medic rushed in, but Chase insisted the pain helped the performance. That real injury remains in the final cut, a perfect symbol of Christmas Vacation's chaotic spirit, a movie held together by determination, improvisation, and a lot of physical suffering. Number 11. The I Found the Perfect Tree scene was filmed in brutal cold that nearly frostbit the cast. The opening sequence, Clark marching into the snowy wilderness to find the perfect Christmas tree, looks magical, but filming it was miserable. Shot in Colorado, temperatures dropped into the single digits, and the wind chill made it feel even colder. Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, and the child actors wore thin wardrobe coats for continuity, offering almost no protection. Chase's nose turned bright red between takes, and the kids kept warming their hands with hot packs stuffed into their sleeves. At one point, a camera froze literally and had to be thawed with portable heaters. The moment where Clark's eyelids stick together wasn't scripted. Ice actually formed from his breath, condensing in the freezing air. Despite the conditions, the cast powered through the scene, creating one of the most beloved openings in Christmas movie history. But cold wasn't the worst hazard they faced. The stunt team was about to encounter a real danger involving a speeding car. Number 12. The Griswold's highway scene was so dangerous, the crew used real stunt drivers to avoid disaster. The highway scene where Clark gets stuck under a logging truck was far more dangerous than audiences realize. The production filmed the sequence on a real road, coordinating high-speed maneuvers with multiple vehicles. Stunt drivers had to maintain perfect spacing, while Chevy Chase pretended to panic behind the wheel. To capture the shot where the Griswold wagon slides under the truck, the stunt coordinator designed a custom rig that lifted the truck's body several inches higher than normal. But the margin for error was razor thin. One miscalculation, one skid, one patch of ice, and the station wagon could have collided with the truck's undercarriage. Chevy Chase wasn't in the car for the most dangerous passes. A stunt driver wearing a Chevy wig took his place. Even with professionals, the scene took multiple attempts and pushed everyone's nerves to the limit. Yet the danger paid off, creating a chaotic, hilarious sequence that felt exactly like Clark Griswold's brand of bad luck in motion. And speaking of disaster, the next scene pushed the boundaries of staged destruction. Number 13. The Christmas dinner turkey was so overcooked it collapsed for real and the cast had to pretend to eat it. The infamous turkey scene where Clark proudly slices open the perfectly roasted bird, only for it to explode into a dry, hollow shell, remains one of the film's funniest visual gags. But the chaos behind the moment was even stranger. The props department prepared several turkeys at different stages of doneness to match continuity. But for the final reveal, they intentionally dehydrated one turkey for hours until it became brittle and hollow. When Chevy Chase carved into it, the collapse was real, no special effects. The sound of the turkey breathing out was added later. But the cast's horrified expressions were genuine. Even worse, for close-ups, the actors had to poke at the destroyed bird and pretend to chew the inedible, chalk-like pieces for multiple takes. Beverly D'Angelo later joked, "I've eaten some questionable things in my life, but that turkey was a crime scene." And yet, the most shockingly real moment of the film wasn't the turkey, it was a Christmas meltdown that hit dangerously close to home. Number 14. CL. Chevy Chase's legendary rant, "Hallelujah, Holy Where's the Tylenol," is one of the most iconic comedic monologues of the 1,980 seconds. But few know that Chase improvised large sections of it in one uninterrupted burst of manic energy. The scene required Clark to unleash weeks of holiday frustration, betrayal, and disappointment in a volcanic eruption of rage. Before the take, Chase isolated himself, pacing in circles, muttering lines, and building emotion. When cameras rolled, he erupted with such intensity that several crew members froze, unsure whether he was acting or genuinely losing control. Beverly D'Angelo remembered staring at Chase in awe because Clark Griswold disappeared and a real man under pressure showed up. The monologue lasted nearly 2 minutes, delivered with perfect rhythm, escalating insanity, and real emotional exhaustion. The crew erupted into applause afterward, something that rarely happens on film sets. But the meltdown was only a warm-up for the film's biggest, most dangerous stunt. Number 15. The final explosion was so big, the studio forced the crew to do safety rehearsals for days. The climax where Clark plugs in the electrical cord, igniting an explosion that launches the plastic Santa and reindeer into the sky, was far more complex than it appears. The scene required real pyrotechnics powerful enough to send large props flying on steel cables. The stunt coordinator warned that even a minor miscalculation could cause debris to fall on cast members or ignite nearby roofs. The studio demanded multiple safety rehearsals and insisted that only essential crew remain near the set. When the explosion finally occurred, the blast was so loud that people on neighboring sound stages stopped working and ran outside to see what happened. The Santa rig shot upward with such force that one reindeer prop broke free and landed off-camera in the street. Chevy Chase's genuine flinch in the scene comes from experiencing the explosion's power firsthand. Despite all the danger, the stunt worked perfectly, a chaotic, over-the-top ending to a production held together by improvisation, luck, and a whole lot of Christmas insanity. Number 16. The Griswold house decorations took weeks to build and became a tourist attraction during filming. The Griswold home, wrapped in lights, props, and holiday madness, wasn't just a set, it became a spectacle. The production team spent weeks wiring, stapling, and arranging thousands of bulbs, ensuring every shot sparkled on camera. The lights attracted huge crowds of real people visiting the Warner Brothers backlot. Tour guides had to reroute trams because guests kept getting off to admire the setup. One night, so many people gathered around to take pictures that security worried the lights might overheat from the continuous power load. Chevy Chase later joked that the set was brighter than half the neighborhoods in Los Angeles. The house became so iconic that fans still visit the backlot today just to see where it once stood. But while the house shined, the pool fantasy scene behind it nearly shut production down. Number 17. The pool fantasy scene was rewritten on set because the studio panicked about it being too risque. Christmas-time innocence meets unexpected fantasy when Clark imagines his dream pool scene, a surreal, slow-motion moment that catches audiences off guard. But the studio was terrified the scene went too far for a holiday movie. Executives demanded a version that was less sexy, more funny. Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo argued that the fantasy needed to reflect Clark's stress-induced escapism, not pure lust. The script went through multiple rewrites until, on the day of filming, director Jeremiah Chechik threw out the revisions and improvised a version that balanced humor with surreal charm. Christie Brinkley was originally considered for the cameo, harkening back to Vacation 1983, but the production cast model Nicolette Scorsese instead, giving the sequence its dreamlike energy. Shooting the scene required multiple takes because Chase kept slipping on the wet pool deck. Despite the chaos, the scene became one of the movie's most memorable, a glimpse into Clark's overwhelmed imagination, caught somewhere between exhaustion and wishful thinking. And the most chaotic scene was still to come. Number 18. The SWAT team crash was so intense the cast had to rehearse it like a real raid. When the SWAT team crashes into the Griswold home, the moment feels exaggerated and ridiculous, but it was filmed with military precision. The stunt coordinator wanted the actors and stunt performers to move like an actual tactical unit. For 2 full days, the cast rehearsed formation drills, door kicks, and synchronized entry patterns. During filming, the actors playing SWAT members burst through windows and doors with so much force that real dust, glass, and debris filled the set. Several cast members flinched because they weren't expecting the level of intensity. Beverly D'Angelo recalled that the raid felt a little too real and that she genuinely ducked during one take. The studio wanted the moment to look chaotic, but the director insisted it had to be executed with real discipline to sell the joke. And ironically, the most controlled stunt in the entire movie ended up producing some of the wildest reactions on camera, but nothing compared to the chaos the film faced after production. Number 19. Test audiences hated the original ending, forcing a massive last-minute rewrite. The original ending of Christmas Vacation didn't include the police raid, the exploding sewer gas, or the flying Santa Claus. Instead, the film ended quietly, with Clark receiving his Christmas bonus. Test audiences found it anticlimactic. Some even called it boring. The studio panicked. With only weeks left, they ordered a major rewrite. Writers added a kidnapping subplot, a SWAT invasion, an explosion, a flying Santa, and a much bigger comedic payoff, all shot in a frantic rush. Chevy Chase admitted the last-minute changes were chaotic but necessary. The reshoots injected the film with the insane, over-the-top Griswold energy audiences loved. Without that rewrite, the film might have faded into obscurity as a mild-mannered holiday comedy. Instead, it transformed into a cult classic. But the biggest twist came after release when the film's legacy changed forever. Number 20. The film wasn't a huge hit at first, then became a holiday tradition across America. When Christmas Vacation premiered in 1989, it performed well but not spectacularly. Critics were divided. Some praised its humor, others dismissed it as chaotic slapstick. But over the next decade, something remarkable happened. Families began re-watching it every December. Television networks noticed. VHS rentals surged. And gradually, word of mouth transformed the film into a Christmas essential, a movie passed between generations, quoted endlessly, and celebrated for capturing the chaos, stress, love, and absurdity of real family holidays. By the 2000s, it had become a definitive American Christmas movie, rivaling classics like A Christmas Story and Home Alone. Today, its characters, quotes, and mishaps are embedded in pop culture. The film that nearly fell apart behind the scenes became a beloved tradition, proof that even the messiest productions can create timeless holiday magic. Which behind-the-scenes disaster shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments and share your favorite Griswold moment. If you enjoyed this deep dive into chaotic holiday filmmaking, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for more cinematic secrets. And until next time, may your lights stay bright, your turkeys stay juicy, and your bonus check actually clear.